Hi, everybody, and welcome to Metaphysical Insights. I'm your host, William Becker, and tonight or today, depending on what part of the world you're in, I have a very special guest, Paranormal Pete, Mr. Pete Orbea. He's a good friend of mine, has been for several years, and Pete just got through hosting. He and his crazily incredible staff the Port Gamble Ghost Conference. Pete's also a talented musician and does some artwork and is a very talented medium. He's one of the two people or three in the world that I would refer anybody to. Um, and I'm fussy about things like that. And just all around a great guy. And he lives in what looks to be a heavenly spot. And um, gets to be the boss of the town. So, Pete, welcome. And
Thanks,
hi,
William.
Katie.
Hey, Katie. Thanks, William. Checks in the mail, sir, for the intro. Oh, good to
Well,
be here.
yeah. Well, speaking, I think we'll just start with last weekend since it was so fresh.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
always, and I don't usually like to do all the talking on my show. I have people on so they can talk, but I want to sing the praises of that conference because I
thanks.
love it so much and it's better and better every time. But it's one, I mean, the chairs had bodies in them and
Yeah.
people were paying attention and people are attending classes and you can feel the love and appreciation from the other participants, but especially those coming in to explore the conference to learn. People are there to learn something or
Yeah.
to examine something, not just a freak show or not just a casual drop in like some of the conferences are. And those are great. They have their own purpose. It's a whole
Hmm.
different thing. But I
Yeah.
love this because I feel like people actually want to hear what I want to have to say. And I haven't talked to others about that, but I would think they had that same feeling. So
Sure.
thank you. you know,
Yeah.
you you make you and your team and the process you use makes that happen.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, it's a crazy process, and always trying to learn from it. So always try and improve each year. But
Mhm,
yeah, I mean the whole thing started before I started working for Port Gamble.
mhm,
Um, Yeah, I think I came in on the second one. This was our 13th we just had. But it was kind of started to educate people and to have a place where people can share similar experiences and not, not have to say, well, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I experienced this or I saw that or, there's a lot of curious people this year and in years past as well. But it
sure.
was so cool that at least 2/3 of the people there were new to the conference, which I thought
Right.
was really cool.
That was
Um,
exciting.
yeah, so it was like a lot of new people that are interested in the topics, and I think we had some really good classes. And um, from what I heard from the classes, that they all had some sort of impact on people, and so that makes me really happy that not only people were able to learn something, but also able to have an impactful experience with it too that'll stick with them. So
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Excuse me. It's not COVID, it's other stuff. But if I cough, I can't help it.
yeah.
So,
Colds are going around.
oh, it's an interesting time of year.
Is
Yeah, we
that
were sorry to miss you weren't there too, Richard.
yeah? I missed you there, man.
Hmm. But now, did you talk this year? You don't get a chance to do readings or to do any teaching during the conference anymore, do you?
Well, not this one because I'm usually floating around and just making sure everything's good and flowing and rolling along. So I usually don't do a class or do
Mhm.
readings at this conference because I'm just too scattered.
Right.
It's just my brain is just in a million pieces all over the place. So,
Yeah.
um, But at the Oregon Ghost Conference, it kind of gives me a chance to enjoy and be a part of the conference, and somebody else is running it. So
Right. So,
that's that's where I can do readings and kind of kick back and enjoy a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Um, I guess meaning not meaning to put you on the spot, but I'm going to. Do you
Okay.
have do you have a particular part of the conference that you find that gives you the most satisfaction?
Um, Man, I usually enjoy the panel discussions because then you get to hear a bunch of different points of view,
Right,
or you find what there's a consensus on, which I think is
right,
kind of cool too.
right,
Um, so I've always kind of enjoyed that the most, just because of the variety of people that are up on the stage, giving different answers. Um, so I've always liked that, but I guess the whole thing. I mean, it's fun to watch people have an aha moment. It's fun to watch people that talk about their first personal experience that they've had and at the conference. That's really cool too when someone has an experience on in one of the buildings, and um, just to see them talk about it and the excitement. It's usually excitement, not fear, so that's
right.
good. It's usually
Yeah.
excitement.
Well,
Um,
you don't have anything nasty in town anyway. You have some grumpy stuff,
yeah,
but you don't have anything that's
yeah. I think
really,
what if there was any, it was gone. It's gone, or
yeah,
it's gone now. But I guess I don't know. The whole part of it is really cool and fulfilling. It's nice to know the people that we do in this community in the Pacific Northwest, and
mhm,
there's a lot of um, you know maybe the best minds in the paranormal. I think, or in the Pacific Northwest, certainly other places as well. But we've got a good crop here,
yeah,
and so I was fortunate to have people like you and like Michael White and many of the other speakers and the new speakers that were there this year, Jim and Joanne Clarkson and Jim B. F. St. Clair,
mhm,
Tracy Shearer. They were all awesome too. So that was a really cool part to see people enjoy the presentations and get that. Like I said, when you see something click for somebody,
right. And I
you know,
got to listen to more of them than I usually do. I missed some of them for various reasons. Some of it teaching, some of it needing to get something to eat,
yeah,
and some of it being after all the work and the drain and the late nights, not
yeah,
necessarily getting there when the door opens.
yeah.
But I was really impressed. There wasn't anybody that I thought, "Oh, geez, or do I have to listen to this?" Or "They're crazy,"
Yeah.
or I was really enthralled with what everybody had to say, and
There was a cool mix of stuff. Yeah,
yeah, mhm,
yeah,
and people presented in a way that made you think and didn't make anything sound like some conspiracy craziness, but you could think about it and say, "Oh, okay, what's going on here? What are the possibilities?" And they approached things from a way that made a lot of sense,
yeah,
and I was glad to hear that.
yeah, yeah. I think it was really cool to have so many new people and to get to hear all the speakers'
Mhm.
presentations this year. Yeah, very
And
cool.
frankly, for those of us who this is part of our business and part of our living, um, it's also nice to be introduced to new people
Yeah.
and a new set of potential clients,
Hmm.
um, different things.
Yeah.
Because that's, to be honest, that's part of why we do it. Um, Part of it's because it's so much fun, and part of it
Right.
is it's work. I just
Yeah.
get to enjoy my work and do it on the road.
Well, not a
So
lot of people get to do that.
that's right. I'm very fortunate and I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
So now
Totally.
tell us, you know me, and hopefully most of the people that watch these shows know me by now. I kind of dart around a little bit because that's the way my brain works. Um, how how is your show going? Why don't you give us a little history about that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I do the Paranormal Pete show on WLTK DB. It's right behind me here if you're watching.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's on Tuesday nights, and um, this next show, I guess I'll do as my 2 year anniversary show of doing the
Fantastic.
show. Yeah. So
Hmm.
it started in November 2020, and it's started with a 2 hour show, which is doable, but making it a 1 hour show was a good call. I think. But I
Yes.
never feel like there's enough time, so that's good.
Hmm.
Rather than thinking, oh gosh, I got another half an hour to go. So
What am I going to say? Yeah.
yeah, stretch it out. So it's an hour show, and I have guests like William and many other people involved in who are active in the paranormal field and active
Hmm.
in cryptid research and UFO research. So it's not just ghosts, because I'm interested in those other things as well. And
Hmm.
so the show, I think I'm coming up on episode 85 or something like that. And I honestly
Wow.
didn't think I would make it past 10. I
Okay.
was thinking, oh, I can do this. And then, you get busy and then it's hard to keep things up like that. But then I found the show's pretty fun. I get nervous before every show.
Okay.
I have some nerves. And so it's always a little bit of a rush doing the show each week, and sometimes I'm kicking and screaming, but I go out once I get start doing it,
Hmm.
then it's all fine, it's all gravy.
Yeah.
But so yeah, coming up on the 2 years here, and looking forward. I think for my 100th episode, I'll probably see if I can max out the StreamYard streams and see if I can get as many people on as I can, just to kind of we'll just make it a fun discussion and
Hmm.
celebrate 100 episodes. So that'll be coming up, I guess, probably in the springtime. It'll be probably April or something like that. I'm not going to do the math in my head right now, but I'm
Ah,
guessing
geez.
probably April. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and gosh, the all my guests have been awesome,
Hmm.
and I think I've been able to pull out some really cool thoughts out of the guests
Hmm.
and interesting facts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's I think my show's a lot of the same feel as your show here, where
Hmm.
good conversation. It's not like a interrogation
Right.
interview sort of thing. It's where you're asking this and this and this and this, but I like to just keep it easy. And occasionally I have music on the show and support local musician friends of mine, and so that's kind of fun to throw that little twist in there too. But
Great.
yeah, no, thanks for letting me talk about it. But yeah, I'm on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m.
It's a good
Pacific.
show. It's a good show, everybody, and I recommend it. And
Thanks.
I don't get to watch it as often as I'd like to, but it's really well done. And you're right, you have fascinating people on, and
Yeah,
it's it informs and entertains. It
yeah,
doesn't put one to sleep. So
yeah.
that's
Right.
nice.
Yeah, and I get a lot of the guests, and then my good friend Michael Beers, he's a producer for the show for me, and he comes up with some pretty amazing people too.
Great.
Uh, and so it's kind of a good team effort, and you know, there's one big guest that I think he's working on, but I'm not going to say who it is until I know. So maybe this next year I've hopefully got someone really world famous that would be coming on. So stay tuned for that. We'll see.
Okay. I like that. That's interesting. And you never know what Michael's going to pull out. I mean, pull out of his hat. He's a great guy, and it's amazing some of what he gets done and accomplishes. So
I know.
I missed he and Kathleen this year at the
Yes.
conference.
Oh
Um,
yes. Yep.
but because that's where I met them, was
Yeah.
at your conference.
Hmm.
So
Me as well. Yep.
yeah. So.
That's a good thing about conferences is you meet people and when you meet someone that you drive with, and
Hmm.
then it just carries on, and yeah, that's one of the cool things about doing the conference is meeting the people. I've met you and everybody else I know through the conferences, and um, it's been a positive change in my life, and
Hmm.
hopefully for others too, that they've had a positive impact from it.
Yeah, I think so. Well, let's jump a little bit into your band, and then we'll talk more about metaphysics. But that's part of your life too, and you guys are
Yeah,
you're doing a lot of performances.
we're starting to again now that we're
Uh-huh.
more out of COVID. Yeah, the band's called Steady Rock Cosmonaut, and if I were to describe the band, I would say it was reggae adjacent. So I guess if you hear it, yeah, that might make sense. But steadyrockcosmonaut.com, and we're a 5-piece band of me. Everybody in the band has been in different bands together over the years, and it's just a lot of fun. The guitarist, lead vocals, and the drummer kind of started it just to have some fun, and then invited me to come play,
Hmm.
and um, that's the rest is history, I guess. We
Right.
started as a 3-piece, but we're having a lot of fun. We just, we wanted to, when we play live, it's, we want to take people on a trip.
Hmm.
Basically, they're going to go to space with us. You can, if we can get everybody to be there in the present, the music can take you different places, and hopefully change yourself in the positive, by going on that trip with us. And so it's a lot of fun. Yeah, steadyrockcosmonaut.com, and you can find us anywhere you stream music. Just look that up. So we've got one album out, working on a second, and we put the first album out, and then the world got shut down.
Hmm.
So we kind of had to put that, it's been on the shelf, and so then now we've been playing more and more shows lately. So yeah, a lot of fun.
You need to get some gigs down this way.
I know. Yeah,
Mhm.
that'd be fun.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
haunted guest room awaits.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're always posting about your guest room.
I know.
The
It
lights
things
come on and off, and you hear stuff move.
things happen at especially that end of the house. Yeah, it's all cool. Nobody's well, people have gone out of the room and said, "Yeah, I'm not going to stay there tonight." But nobody has run away screaming.
Yeah,
They've
and
screamed and stayed in the room, but
yeah, and do you think it's your folks
no,
that
there was
come
stuff
around?
going on. There was stuff going on in the house before they passed.
Okay.
Now, some of it is because one of the screams was somebody woke up and saw mom standing next to her in bed. So that was mom. But
Yeah.
my parents get a big kick out of some of it. What happened to Vivian wasn't my folks. I know that, but they laughed. They thought it was funny.
Poor
Uh,
Vivian.
I know. Um, but so yeah, that's um,
Yeah.
they're they're all good. They're all welcome.
Yeah.
So
We have stuff in our house here that I think my wife Molly's grandpa comes by often.
hmm.
Um, there's a shadow person that I'll see go from the kitchen into the dining room about every other day, and then
Okay.
it'll go back into the kitchen after a while. And it really looks like her grandfather, the way it walks and everything. And but I think I don't know. I've heard stuff in our stairwell that uh, I just couldn't explain.
Hmm.
And kind of where I'll sit in our living room. It's kind of near the stairwell,
Right.
and and I don't know if it's like a memory thing, like a subconscious thing, but like I'll hear kids' voices in the stairwell, and then realize, oh, kids are at grandma's tonight. They're not here. Wait, what did I just hear? Because
Uh
at first
huh.
I'll think it's them and go, oh no, wait, they're not here.
Right. Uh
And
huh.
when we first, so the house we're in, we've been here for 10 years. Coming up March will be 10 years.
Okay.
And when we first moved in, our oldest daughter had just turned 1 years old, and we would hear like sound like people dragging our furniture around upstairs. Big,
Hmm.
you know, sounds on the floor, and you go up there, and she's just sound asleep, in her crib,
And you're thinking
and
she's mighty, mighty baby trying to.
yeah, Mighty Mouse running around the room or something.
Uh-huh.
And and soon after we got in, that kind of stuff stopped. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think there's a shadow person who I think is related to us.
Right.
And then hearing the kids too. And I will say that the water pipes here do make very strange noises.
Okay.
It took, when we were first living here, when the dishwasher's running, it sounds like people talking.
Hmm.
And so I figured out though that it is, or the fridge will, make strange sounds. Our old fridge did.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it would sound like voices coming from the kitchen. And then nope, the dishwasher's on. It's the water in the pipes. And but man, it sure sounded like a full conversation.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, and your dog used to stare at things too, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. On one of the houses we lived in, um, there's a staircase like right in the middle of the house, and it goes up one flight, and then there's a landing, and it does a 180, and then you finish going up to the second floor. And so occasionally he would be on that stair landing, showing his teeth, hackles up, growling and snarling and snapping at the air.
Hmm.
Uh, and he would never do that to a person. Like, we never would
Whoops.
see, we'd never, he would never had any sort of negative inclination to a human being.
Right.
But other dogs, he might try and act tough. And so that was always kind of crazy. And then we found out um, there was a woman who was interviewed before she passed away, and she grew up in Port Gamble, and she remembered this dog that lived at that house that we lived in, and
Okay.
that the dog was known in town for going down to the butcher at the general store every morning by himself. He'd go down there, the butcher would give him a bone, and then he would bring it back to the house, and he'd either be in the front yard or he'd be perched up on that stair landing was where he would always hang out. And then
Okay.
apparently everyone loved this dog, and she couldn't remember the name of the dog, but apparently, everyone knew him, sort of thing. And of course, so I think we experienced him in that house. That was our second house here. So yeah, that was cool.
I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's other people's pets are around too. So,
Yes. Yes, they are.
yeah.
Yeah, and you've got so many different kinds of things around in Port Gamble too,
Hmm.
between the elementals, and that has actually been a spot um, with Bigfoot activity too, hasn't it? Haven't you had
Yeah.
experiences
Well,
there? Or
I feel like I had some sort of experience. It wasn't visual,
hmm.
unfortunately, but it was audible, and kind of the whole. There's like 4,000 acres of timberland that's south of here that belongs to the county, and it's a big county park.
Hmm.
That's wilderness, and it kind of goes stretches all the way down. If anybody listening from familiar with where Bainbridge Island is, I'm north of Bainbridge Island, but there's like a whole track of forest that goes from where I'm at pretty much all the way down to Bainbridge, and supposedly is an area where a lot of reports have come out of for Sasquatch activity,
Okay.
witness accounts. I can tell you one story about this was years ago. This was probably 20 years ago. Um, I was working at a sporting goods store in a nearby town here,
Hmm.
and I was at the gun counter Yeah, I don't know what I was doing, but this guy came in just out of breath, puts his hands on the counter, and he's like, "I need your strongest binoculars you've got." And he's all out of breath and he's all excited and everything. And I was like, "Oh wow, well, what'd you see?" Just putting it out there. And so he lives, kind of on the south end of this area I'm talking about.
Right.
And he said he and his buddies were out in his backyard, and behind his house there's a pretty good hill, and it's all wooded,
Right.
trees everywhere, and there's they can see it's not completely covered, but so you can see up this hill. Anyways, he and his buddies are hanging out in the backyard, and they saw this thing halfway up on the hill. They Nobody knew what it was. It wasn't noticed, and then this thing just stood up and then picked up a rock and moved it, and then went into the trees. And
Wow.
they said it was brown, and so they ran up there. Um, what the heck was that? They go up there and they could smell. He described it just as this horrible, nasty smell as they
Hmm.
got closer. And they found the rock that this thing easily picked up and moved. And it took five of them to even budge it.
Wow.
And but from where their vantage point was, it looked smaller from
Right.
their perspective, but it was a pretty large size rock. Um, like at least 3 feet, 4 feet tall.
Hmm.
And so he was sure that he saw a Sasquatch because they said it looked hairy. And when they got up there, it was just stinky, horrible smell. And it couldn't have been a person that picked up and moved that rock. And they certainly didn't think it was a bear because it walked off on 2 feet.
Right. And a bear doesn't usually do that kind of activity either. I don't
Right.
know
Well,
that they. I
they,
don't know if a bear could grab and pick up a rock.
I mean, it's possible if it's big enough, but they certainly wouldn't walk on 2 fours. They may stand
Yeah.
up, right, and maybe take a
Right.
couple of steps on their hind legs. But I mean, that one was just kind of stuck out to me because his eye, the guy's eyes when he came in were just as big as plates, big as dinner plates, and just whoa. Well, I don't know what we saw, but man, it was Sasquatch.
Oh, I love it. And I'm glad he was looking for binoculars, not a gun to go shoot it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they had all that stuff already,
Well, it could be, but you know,
but they was looking
th-
for the binoculars, so that was cool.
yeah. Richard, I'm not sure that's a comforting thought. Um,
I feel like poor Gamble will end up in a Stephen King movie someday. Could
yeah,
be.
could be. Hmm. As a portal opens up to whatever. Now,
Yeah.
have you had any Bigfoot experiences or cryptid experiences in other places?
Not really, not that I can think of. I mean, my closest experience with like a live big wild forest animal, I think, was a kid sleeping in the back of my dad's truck.
Hmm.
Um, we were at a family friend's place, so it was me and this other kid, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't our dad's. But in the middle of the night, we heard what we thought was a bear come down the hill behind where we were and walked next to the truck. And so, no, I don't know that I ever have at other places. I feel like a couple times I've seen, strange things in the skies where, like, you know, lights that could be a satellite moving in ways that I don't think our satellites can move,
Right.
but it's really only been here where I, feel like I had possibly a Sasquatch encounter. We
That's
just didn't
interesting.
see it. We just didn't see it. We could hear it, but we just didn't see it,
Right.
which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder too, because when you were a kid at your dad's truck, you weren't really aware of and participating with your
Mm-mm.
psychic mediumship abilities.
Not that I
I
knew of.
wonder, yeah, and I wonder if more awareness of that, if there's some kind of a signal that goes back and forth that,
Could be, yeah. I think sure. I think is if we can communicate, you know, uh, as mediums
Hmm.
with people on the quote unquote other side, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to. Or if, like, if you communicate with animals,
Hmm.
horses or dogs, cats, whatever. I think there's, and I'm not saying Sasquatch is an animal.
Right.
Um, don't want to put that spin on it, but uh, I don't see why we couldn't communicate or have more of a blinking light over us saying
It says,
we can communicate.
yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, it just makes sense to me. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. I don't see why we couldn't communicate with them.
because you mentioned early too that you like with your show you have cryptozoology and
Hmm.
UFO and such. I know how you got interested in the ghost pieces. I know some of that, and you've talked about that on this show.
Hmm.
So, tell us a little bit more about the other two.
Oh, my
You,
interest in,
where your
yeah.
interests come in the both of those.
Um, Man, I think with um, cryptids, I would say it was only Sasquatch really.
Okay.
Um, I'd heard stories of thunderbirds and stuff like that growing up.
Hmm.
Um, I don't really know exactly where my interest in like Bigfoot or belief. I'll just come out and say I guess I believe he exists,
Hmm.
and there's a species, and I don't know if it's a relic species or what, but I don't really know where that comes from, other than my house. It was, imagination was encouraged, and science
Hmm.
fiction was a big part of what was read and what we watched on TV. And so Star Wars was a big part of my life early on, and still is.
Hmm.
Just ask my wife. Um, but
I
I
can see
think,
her rolling her eyes now.
yeah. Um, but so I think because of that, I was always open to, there was definitely more out there than what we think.
Hmm.
Um, and I must have like read something. I just can't remember, but I've just always been interested in Bigfoot. And it wasn't until I moved up here, just before 2000, and then wherever it's always Sasquatch up here. And so then I kind of learned, okay, that's the good term. That's what I'll use. And but it was
Okay.
originally, it was Bigfoot, and I guess I can't really remember, other than maybe I heard stories, and just was like, oh yeah, yeah, I think that's legit. you
Hmm.
know, I think that's probably legit. Um, the Patterson Gimlin film I'd seen on different documentaries growing up, and so that, I guess, that really interested me too, because I felt like that was a legit film. And as far as like the UFO side of things, well, that just comes right along with the sci-fi and just believing, that there's no possible way we are the only planet with life forms on it out there. And so I've always, always looked to the stars. And growing up, local high school in my part of town had a planetarium.
Wow.
And so all growing up, we got to go to the planetarium for field trips. And then when I got to high school, I got to take astronomy one and astronomy two in the planetarium,
Now, where
and
was this?
in Boise, Idaho,
Okay.
and at Capitol High School there. And
That's a surprise. A very pleasant surprise that.
yeah, it was awesome. And um, it was such a cool class for astronomy one and two. But just going in there, all growing up, it seemed like every year, whatever grade you're in, you're going to take a field trip to the planetarium. And
Uh-huh.
the instructor he'd take you on a tour through the galaxy, and in different, it was a state of the art planetarium.
Hmm.
And so that always fueled my interest of what's going on up in the stars. Um, you know, Always being interested in that.
Yeah.
And you know, I had had and still have a recurring dream that I think has beings from another place.
Okay.
that's been ever since I was a kid. I've had this dream, and um, so that was always kind of there in my mind too. But now, um, looking back, I can and currently, I understand it a little bit more. That I think these people are actually guides for me,
Okay.
and it's not just dreams. It's that I was having, because it's almost always the same. But and these beings never speak in my dreams.
Hmm.
It's all just a download, I
Right.
guess. They never speak. It's
It's
just
kind
they
of a
just
telepathic communication or something.
yeah, yeah. They have never heard their voice, um, and so I guess because of that, I've always had an interest in what's going on up there.
I
So
like it. Oh
yeah,
my.
yeah. And the guides, I don't know their names. I don't, know exactly where they're from. I don't fully understand them, or even like 10% understand who they are yet, but they're there. And I just know that I get information through them. And so I'll learn at some point.
What do they look like?
That's a good question. They always have big, like, hooded robes on.
Yep.
Um, and so I never really quite see their faces, but I think they have white hair
Hmm.
and a bluish skin tone. Um, some people have said, oh, it sounds like Palladians
Hmm.
from the Pleiades, which is in Orion's constellation, which is something I've always been drawn to ever since I can remember, is that particular constellation. I always
Hmm.
seem to see it, always find it. I've always just kind of stared at it more than other constellations.
Okay.
Um, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. What the name of them would be, but I think they have like white hair, but I just never quite see their face because it's always kind of just dark,
Right.
and these hoods kind of shield their face a bit. So
Yeah. How many of
um,
them?
there's four.
Four. Okay.
It's always been four. Yep,
Okay.
yep.
That's
And
interesting.
they don't walk. They're off the ground a few inches,
Hmm.
and they have really long fingers,
Okay.
like really long fingers. I as
Good
growing
piano
up,
players.
well, yeah, yeah, right. Lucky piano players. Um, I always called them Weckles growing up because of the drummer Dave Weckel, and I had somehow there's like a he had signature drumsticks, and one of my friends I think got a set of those or something, and I just kind of like, oh, that reminds me of these guys' fingers, these drumsticks, and
Okay.
so then I would call them that, but I don't call them that now, but I think they're my
Okay.
guides.
Yeah.
But yeah, really long fingers. And like I said, they never say anything. They just kind of just stand there in a row, and we face each other. And sometimes they'll apport things with their hands, like a
Okay.
dagger might appear, or a book or something. They'll just kind of open their hands. If you're watching out there, just kind of open their hands, and an object may appear between their hands. And then they put their hands together and it goes away. So, yeah, I don't know what it all means. I need to write it down next time.
I
I
want
need to
to be
start
able to
journaling
do
it.
that. Yeah, actually,
Yeah, I got to
and
start
see if
journaling
there's
that one.
something, because that's fascinating. And it's hard to say. Some of the books out there say that we can choose wherever we want to go to be
Sure.
incarnated, and um, if there are intelligent beings on other planets, then it's possible that according to some theories that have some sense to me, we could choose to have been in them,
Yeah.
to incarnate there.
Well, and
Um,
here's a thought too, that the Akashic record and everything, and you just did a class on it.
right.
Is that relegated for humans only,
Oh, I wouldn't think so.
or does it encompass more than that?
Yeah.
And I think I find it hard to believe that we would be the only intelligent species out in this universe. And so I think, if you think about it like through the Akashic record, maybe that's a way that people could
Hmm.
try and understand what's out there more than what we know.
Yeah, that could be. And so much of it too, is it this universe or a different universe? Is it in a
Right.
different dimension? And I think there's a lot to some of that. My guides, and I asked some of that because I have three. I call them the ancient ones, and they're dressed in. They look like Franciscan friars, kind of like with the robes. And
Nice.
sometimes I see faces, and sometimes I don't. But they're standing still, and they look human. But they're connected through the ages
Yeah.
and through time and through dimensions. And I think the Akashic record is that way. And traveling to other realms, like part of what we were doing in my class too, we're going outside of this existence a bit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I could see where they could be part of that too, because it's the astronomy and the physics and the biology. There's so much luck. And actually, okay, some astronomers have said, well, we've actually had life created twice on Earth. We have two very different forms of life on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it that's carbon based and needs oxygen and water and all that. And then we've got the other kind that lives in arsenic pools full of superheated water with all kinds of deadly fumes and things
Right.
like that. And um, but that's microbiome. Um, they're microbes, they're
Yeah.
bacteria, they're
Sure.
different things. They're not what we call intelligent life. Um, but even if we can't find it in this universe, I would think that there is in others. And to me, more and more, it makes sense. These connections are other. And it's where we go after we pass this life, too. I mean,
Sure.
it's not, it's when I go there to do readings and such, and it's not here. It's
Right.
not, it's not this place in heaven that's part of our seen world out there. It's in another place that feels like another dimension that we can go
Sure.
to here, we can go to here, but
Yeah.
not with this. I don't know. It might not make sense, but
Well,
it's
I,
kind of the
I
way I'm developing.
I think anything's possible.
Yes.
you know,
Hmm.
and there's certainly we can't, as humans, understand or perceive more than 10 to 20% of any of it, right?
Oh, if we're
So
on a good day.
yeah, right, yeah,
Hmm.
10% typical.
Right.
you know, so I think yeah, any of that stuff's kind of possible.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
will we ever get good tangible evidence? That's a hard, that'd be a hard one to have
yes.
good, tangible, incredible evidence of that, unless
Hmm.
you know there is an alien introduction, or a visitation that is to the masses, that
Hmm.
you know then I think our consciousness will shift a little bit
That could
to
be.
kind of take on that. But for now, I think we just have to always say anything's possible on that. So when you say, I know it doesn't make sense or it sounds crazy, well, yeah, but what if it doesn't? Like, let's say, um, as humans, since time is a mystery,
Right.
um, are we existing in more than one place at one time?
Hmm.
Like, when you go to sleep, does your other part of yourself then wake up in whatever realm they're in? And when they go to sleep, that's when you're waking up. So when you know, when you're restless and you just can't get to sleep, well, does that mean your person in the other realm does not want to wake up and they're staying asleep? So it's keeping you awake and vice versa. So, is that possible? Sure, I think that could be possible too.
That is fascinating. I'm really glad to hear you say this because when I was in grade school, I remember the room had my bedroom, so I knew we'd been in Oregon City long enough to switch. My bedroom was down at the other end of the house from where it had started.
Hmm.
Um, but I was still pretty young. And I thought my dreams were this other kid's life sometimes, and his dreams were mine because I'd see myself. I'd astral project, but I'm 8, I'm 10, whatever. I don't know what I'm doing. Um, and around here, you certainly didn't talk about it.
Right.
Um, I was weird enough. I didn't need to be any weirder. But I would see myself sleeping in bed.
Hmm.
And so I just figured, it was
Normal.
kind of along those ways with a 8 or 10-year old's lack of understanding.
Yeah, I remember that
And
too. I remember that
mhm,
too. And how many times have you had the dream that, and everybody listening out there too, where you go up, right? Or like
yep,
you can just seem to jump however high and far you want to.
mhm,
And so you go up and then that coming back down and then you jump, in your bed.
yep,
And that's like coming back from astral projection, but you didn't even
mhm,
realize you were doing it. I think that's an interesting thing. And I remember I'd always have dreams where I could just like jump as
mhm,
far and high and could stay up there as long as I wanted to. And then sometimes it just very quickly, whoop, and then I would wake up because you're like about to hit the ground or something, but it's you're coming back into your body.
yeah.
And yeah, that's
I
fun but
still,
scary.
I still dream where I'm flying, and
Yeah,
it doesn't usually crash land like that. I mean, I often will
just
keep
me.
dreaming. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm older now, so I've had more practice,
There you
but
go.
I'll be convinced that I'll have the discussion going on in my brain, and I'll be flying around local places or something, and sometimes I can fly better than others, and I'll see myself standing, and then I just go, and I can fly around hallways or upstairs or whatever, and I'm convinced that I'm really doing this,
Yeah,
and then reality is when I get wake up, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, if I try that, I'm going to kill myself. So I probably shouldn't, but I can do it, but I guess I can't. But
yeah. Yeah, you
yeah,
got to learn to control it and be have that lucidity where you can
mhm,
you're in your dream and you know that you're doing
mhm,
this, but see where it goes. Yeah, everyone I
mhm,
think has had that experience where you come back down
yeah,
and, and you jump in bed.
yeah. Oh, and I've had those definitely. Um, and then some of those are the falling dreams too,
Hmm.
and because I've had those not for quite a while though.
Yeah,
Um, I'm not sure what those are about, but it's fun. And I used to do more astral projection. I need just to do it, and I should
yeah.
do more of it again. Just
Well, I think
it's a
it's
good
good
skill
to,
set.
yeah, and I think if anything, it gives you just perspective on like I need to do it too,
Hmm.
more and try it more and be conscious of it more because I think it can help you in your present situation. It helps you be present and get a different perspective when you can look at yourself, not
Exactly.
just in a mirror.
Right. No, I think you're
So,
right. And some of the work we do um, with mediumship, I don't jump into somebody's living room to watch what they're watching on TV, but the paranormal activity in a place will draw me into it a lot of
right,
times, or if
yeah,
I'm invited to see something. But
right,
no government, you don't need to check on me. I'm not reading the missile codes. Uh,
right,
I that's above any pay grade I want.
yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, no kidding. Um,
Geez, I have enough trouble taking care of myself.
right. By the way, so do you have an old family scrapbook or it's someone's diary journal but may have had clippings in it? Do you have
I don't know. Depends on what age, what period, what's.
past your parents' generation? Um, I see somebody clipping out. You know, what I've got for you before, the man in the top hat,
Okay.
the Teddy Roosevelt kind of looking guy. He's like clipping. I see him clipping things out. So I don't. Did he ever have a journal or something that may have been passed down in your family at all?
I will ask my mom's cousin because
Okay.
that's on my mom's father's side, and we identified him because I showed you the picture when I
Yeah.
figured it out and found it. It's like, and the guy had the same name that you said,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and so we,
He's clipping out something. Scrapbook. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, um, you need to ask about that because there's something about 41, like maybe it's full page 41 of it.
I'm getting something to write with
Yeah.
because I won't remember 41 and stuff otherwise.
Yeah. Or the number 41 is significant, and 15. Um, well, you need to look into that. I don't know. I just started seeing that this guy was clipping out stuff.
Okay,
Could also be years, the year 1941 or the year 1915 or 1841, 1850. I don't know.
yeah. Well, this would be the sons of the family that came out on the Oregon Trail
Okay.
in 1869.
Okay.
Um, and I don't know when they were born. I know one of a daughter
Mm-hmm.
um, came out when she was a girl, and my mother remembered her quite well.
Hmm.
So,
I don't know.
and
Maybe it's a message like you need to look something up um,
yeah,
in this scrapbook and like 41 and 15.
yeah, I wonder if where
Maybe it wasn't
it's
his, but it might be something that, he was around.
right.
Um, but yeah, keep seeing this guy clipping out
Okay,
news clippings and pictures and stuff to put in this scrapbook.
I'll ask Nancy. She's my only contact really with that part of the family anymore.
Yeah.
Um, she and her brother were my mom's cousins. Her father was my mom's father's brother. My
Okay.
mom was an only child, and Nancy, there were just my mom's father only had one sibling, and
Mm-hmm.
so these we're getting into uncles and
Mm-hmm.
great great uncles and aunts and cousins
Yeah.
15,000 times removed or something. So I don't know any of them. Half of Grays River probably still has relatives, but
Yeah.
um, okay. It's, when we get off, I will double check on that and see what I can find because
Okay.
that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's that same guy. What did I
Yeah,
say his name was?
William.
William. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, excuse me, and it is. Um,
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
this is one of the things that really blew me away about you. You talked about this early on. I mean, you'd barely been doing any mediumship work, and we're 160 miles away, and you're telling me about this guy that you see around me.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's a pretty good talent.
Thanks. Yeah, he's part of your group there.
Yeah,
He's part of Team William.
and I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful
Yeah.
because most of the time, that part of the group I don't really see or have that much contact with. It's
Right.
the ancient ones, and they come through in meditation and things mostly. But
Right.
so the ones around me more, I'm not always aware of. Other
Yeah.
people have to tell me.
Well,
So
I know it's your show, but can I ask you a question?
absolutely,
Have you found in your all your time doing this and the different mediums and different psychics you've met over the years. Um, do you have you heard that is it hard for a psychic to know their own spirit guides, like to know who they all are, what they look like, and know all about them? I think it's a mixed bag, but what do you think?
That's an interesting question that I hadn't really thought about. Um, I know people that know theirs quite clearly and have a
Yeah.
interaction relationship with them. Um, I've been in classes. I know we can go and meet them. I've helped
Hmm.
people meet their guides.
Right.
Um, I think we have to be open to them, and I think it depends on the guides and the relationship and
Right.
how.
How the person receives information, or
Mhm. All of that, but also, is it important that the guide be known to the person or not? I think it
right.
might not matter to the guide sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I ask because I'm just kind of curious because it took me however many decades to realize that the people that those beings that are in my dreams that I think are guides, and there's a couple others, and I know there's a lot more. I just don't know them.
mhm,
I don't have that interactive relationship that some people do. That's they talk to that guide, and they and so and plus I think it might be a trust thing too, trusting your own self. Well, am I just imagining this person, this
right,
being, this creature, whatever it is? Am I just imagining it, or wow,
right.
is it my guide? And so I was just curious to kind of see what you thought. um
I can give you
you
a
know
I can do a guided meditation with you and help you find them.
we should maybe do that sometime. I did that one with that you and Vivian did at the virtual ghost conference in
Right.
2020, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
um and in doing it, I had somebody show up,
Mhm,
and um couldn't quite get the name, but I definitely, this person came for me when I asked, if any guides, looking for
mhm,
them. And so I think it kind of worked, and maybe I just need to do more work with it. But as a medium, like you're saying, like I hear about people to like such an in tune relationship with the spirit guide.
right,
Then I feel like me, like, well, I have them, and like I have an idea of who some of them are, but maybe I just don't need that yet, or I'm not there yet to have that such an interactive. You know what I mean? Like
right.
maybe
Well,
like
it could be that you don't need that. They are there for other reasons. You don't need them to help you with the mediumship the same way, but you
hmm.
need them for something else that they do in the background,
Yeah,
um, something like that. And it's not a better or worse. It's just that this is where their purpose is,
yeah,
perhaps.
yeah,
R-
and I think kind of what you're saying, between different people,
mhm,
it varies, and everybody's different with their gifts,
right.
and how they use them, and how things come to them, and all that. So I guess if you keep that in mind, then I don't know.
Well, let's after Thanksgiving, let's set up a chat, just the two of us, and take a journey and see what we find for you and see if they can tell you more about how they are supposed to work with you,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I just feel like there's a lot there, and I just am. I don't want to say blind to it. I know it's there, but maybe I'm just not meant to know yet, or something.
Or it's
The whole
just,
time thing.
yeah, and but we can see where we go,
Yeah.
and I think we look. we're working, we're busy, we do all these things, kind of like we're going this way a lot, and sometimes we don't always see what else is there,
Right.
standing, kind of standing behind us in support, not because we're out in front of them, but because they're back in the support group, which is very vital. But
Yeah.
sometimes, and some people don't want to always show. Sometimes people are shy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it
Um,
goes to
mhm,
that anything's possible. You just have to figure out what feels right for you.
mhm. Yeah, but I help people get to their guide at the Akashic record all the time,
Yeah.
and I have got help people with spirit guides. So and with this class, I mean, we use the guide at the Akashic record to go to help direct people to other realms that they should
Yeah.
go to. I always go to my guide before I go anyplace else to where should I go? Unless
Yeah.
it's a place I've been to a few times and I know that I'm part of it and welcome and that I
Yeah.
I can go there when I want to. But
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, so good question. Now we have a project.
Yeah. Sounds like maybe you should do an online class and do the guided meditation so other people can join in too.
Yeah, that is definitely a doable thing. I like
Yeah.
doing online work. Um, I'll set one of those up and probably for after the first of the year
Yeah. Well, I can help you with
because
the setup.
okay, excellent, excellent. Well, and Pete and I team up really well together on a lot of projects we've done. So,
Yep.
um,
Now that we're out of COVID and stuff, we'll have to get something going this next year again and do some development classes and things like
yep,
that.
yep,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I've missed that.
And I've got a gallery reading coming up December 9th with uh,
Okay,
McKenna Grace, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I loved. We'll have to do one too, William, sometime again because I
yeah,
like
because
doing the gallery readings. Last year, you and I had to step in for Nkasha
right.
for her gallery reading, and no pressure there.
No, I mean, I felt so honored that she was okay with that.
Yeah,
And then for her class too, I took her class. Um, and I met some wonderful people out of that.
yeah,
So, but I enjoy doing galleries.
yeah. It's always you never know who's going to come up for somebody.
Right. Hmm. Exactly.
It'll
Yeah.
be somebody you don't expect, sometimes, or God, I thought that person hated me.
Right.
Nope, they're
Or
coming through to say hi.
yeah, and sometimes they come through to apologize for hating you.
Yeah, yeah, yep, make amends, that sort of
Hmm.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
indeed, indeed.
Yeah. It's always a fun. Yeah. It's just, well, I like meeting dead people. I can't help it.
Sometimes they're easier to deal with than the living.
Yeah. Often.
So
And not often, but sometimes. But um, it's,
they have a bigger perspective on everything.
they do. They do. And
They know more.
yeah, I find fewer misunderstandings.
Yeah,
And and especially after they've had time to process things more
yeah,
and clear up misunderstandings between people
yep.
and
And
their loved ones.
they're so close with the Akashic record at that point.
Hmm.
They have all the perspective they want to have, and they know what matters in life, what's really important,
Exactly. Hmm.
and that's how everything's based on that. I think everything that they quote unquote live by, it comes through that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It
So
is.
I like that, Roger.
Yeah.
I get along better with the dead than I do with the living. Yeah,
Yeah. Roger's a good guy. He's a friend.
I think a
But
lot of people who spend time with the dead feel that way.
uh and I'm so lucky. I have so many wonderful people in my life, and I'm very grateful for that. And you obviously are one of them, and
Oh,
Molly,
thanks.
and your family. But Um, I I really am, but the dead people aren't usually going out and blowing everybody up, and
Right.
mm, they're working on something that's um,
Bigger than them.
yeah, for the
Yeah.
most part,
Yeah.
especially by the time they get to a certain point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And they
yeah,
have that perspective of doing things that are bigger than
hmm
themselves. And, in a lot of
hmm
cases, the ego can easily be checked
oh
at the
yes,
door with dead people,
right,
uh, more so than the living.
exactly.
That's why you get that better perspective on things.
Yeah, well, and especially when we're dealing with them who have actually we're dealing with the part of them that is past, because I notice a difference sometimes. Um, there'll be the part of the person that stays in a place, the intellect, parts of the intellect and then personality and stuff that
Mm-hmm.
you're interacting with that's more like they would have been when they were here. And then you've got the part that has gone and grown and done so
Yeah.
much more development. And
Yeah.
that's the part that's closer to the true. And sometimes that affects some of what's around down here too.
Mm-hmm.
But I figured a lot of that out because I'd get mixed messages sometimes from my dad. And he'd say one thing when it's I'm connecting with more of his true being on the other side than what he
What he would say.
shows up with around here sometimes. And some of that might be just my own perception and projection too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, as long as you're conscious of yourself
mhm,
in all of it, that's what sets you apart. And gives more credibility.
right, right. And I think it's a little harder to read from ourselves.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I think it's hard to read for somebody like your best friend. Uh,
it can
you
be hard
know,
to read for sometimes with people you know so well.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm
It's the whole wait. Did I hear something about this person I'm seeing 20 years ago? Did they
hmm
mention this person, or am I, is it somebody I thought existed in the family? You never quite know. I think that's the
hmm
hard part with reading somebody so close to you is
Right,
you're the doubt, the self
right.
doubt, because you're like, God, did they tell me this? 15 years ago, whatever it is.
Yeah. Or it's like, oh, geez. Well, this is for anybody, I guess, too, is, yeah, are they going to be really happy to hear this? um,
Right?
yeah. Well, that's part of the thing with gallery readings. I mean, we have to be careful when it's starting to get to a point of personal. I give people a chance to tell
Mm-hmm.
me if they want me to continue or not in public.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. If
if
you
they,
start seeing things that you're like, yeah, this may not be stuff that they want shared in front of other people.
mhm. And a lot of
Yeah.
times they're okay with it, and other times I'll try to make a note and a bookmark so that they can come up to
A-
me later and I can get back
Afterwards.
to it.
Yeah.
But sometimes the entities don't come around and I don't remember. I mean, you talk to a bunch of people, it's hard to remember everything.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the readings I give to others don't hang out long
Yeah. Yeah.
with me because
Yeah.
they're not for me, they're for somebody else.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to remember it.
Right. Yeah. I think
Yeah,
that's when you were connecting is when you can't remember it. But
that's a big part of it. Yeah.
yeah, but I have noticed like if you connected with somebody really well in a reading and then the person comes back for another reading,
hmm
if they just give you what you got last time and it's almost like a redial, hitting the
Right.
redial button and you're connected like that again.
hmm
If you can remember, oh, what the feeling was when you connected with that person, then it's almost like a speed dial, auto dial thing that boom, then
hmm
you're connected back. Sometimes,
Sometimes. Yeah.
not
Well,
always.
it
Sometimes.
depends on, there's so many things involved. Not I've had entities tell me, "No, it's none of your business." Or I've had them say, no, they need to ask themselves. It's part of their path to
Yeah.
talk to me and learn how to hear me give
Yeah.
them these answers. And so I work with them with that,
Yeah.
that piece of it, because that does happen sometimes. And I know that sounds like a cop out, but it isn't. It's what they say. And if you think about it, it makes sense. I mean, we're talking to people in a different place that are telling us things for somebody else,
Yeah.
and they're there trying to assist that person in whatever way.
Hmm.
And often that's part of their own growth, and especially if you're working with people that have an interest in their own psychic abilities and mediumship abilities, then part of that often can be, well, you need to do this work to find this answer.
Hmm.
It's like mom doing my schoolwork for me, or dad doing my history report. Being a history teacher wasn't going to help me learn anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You have to do it yourself, and yeah.
mhm.
Hmm.
So giving my math homework to somebody else wasn't going to teach me um, geometry or trigonometry
Yeah.
or calculus.
Yeah. I.
Nothing helped me learn calculus. But
Oh yeah. I'm not good at math. Good at music. That's
yeah,
kind of like math, but
yep.
not regular math.
Hmm.
um, well, I keep. I'm just gonna say it because I think we're comfortable here. We can say this, but I keep seeing a guy now. It's really starting to get in my way here. Uh, who I mean, he looks wise. It's just funny. He kind of reminds me of Pete Rose, um, like the way he looks, the baseball player,
Okay.
and and he's wearing a hat with a red C on it. So I don't know if anybody out there, uh, maybe your dad or uncle or something that kind of looks like Pete Rose always wore. I want to say it's a Cincinnati hat too. Maybe that's why I'm thinking Pete Rose, but I keep seeing this man like he's trying to come through, but he's was in there's a red C on his hat, but it's not the Cubs. So I think it's the Reds. So if you
Cardinals.
no, it's not the Cardinals. I think it's the Reds,
Okay.
Cincinnati Reds logo. But I keep seeing this guy. And I don't think it's with you, William. It's for maybe somebody that's listening
Okay.
or watching, and something about it's time. It's time to make up your mind. So I don't know what it's about, but it's time. The message I think is it's time to make up your mind. So if there's somebody listening out there has a relative that would wear like a Cincinnati Reds, okay. Um, oh, thanks, Katie. Um, I mean,
Katie's awesome.
he's got kind of a bigger nose. It's kind of how I see him, like kind of, Pete Rose kind of nose. Um, I should be a rapper, a Pete Rose kind of nose. Um, but yeah, I think the message is it's time to make up your mind, yes or no. So, Katie, I don't know if that makes sense to you. If you've been had a question you've wanted answered, it's time to make up your mind. The question isn't answered, but it's time to make your decision. I don't know if that makes sense for you or for somebody else, but I just wanted to get that out there.
Very good. Thank you.
Hmm.
Uh, that'll be interesting to see if any we get any more feedback on there. If
Yeah,
that is for Katie, she might message us privately. You
yeah,
either
and
any of us.
that's okay. Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
I
Or
like
somebody else.
Richard's comment that never ended up needing math in adult life either.
But I use it all the time. Um, I mean, and I use algebra all the time.
Okay, well there you go. Well, Katie,
Okay.
if you've been wondering about something like when is the right time, I'm guessing now is the time. It's
Yeah.
time to make up your mind.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Um, but yeah, looking at percentages, figuring out a price per unit or something too. That's
Yeah.
all. That's algebra. Um, and
Yeah. I mean, I guess we use it.
we
Do
just don't think about it.
yeah. Well, everything is numbers.
Yeah.
Everything is math. Everything
Yeah.
is numerical. It has a you know numerical value you can assign to it. And
Hmm.
so whether we like it or not, I guess it's all around in everything.
I'd like to have been good, better at it, that I could get into the more, there's a mystical side of it almost,
Hmm.
almost a metaphysical side that, and a creative side that I think would have been fun.
Yeah.
But you have to be really well grounded in the basics first. And uh, so much of that is very difficult for me to remember
Right.
and to quite figure out. But but I did get A's in um, statistics in grad school.
Good job. Hey,
Yeah,
Jamie.
Jamie School. Hi, Jamie. But I sure didn't in undergrad school. My bachelor's, but our our professor, when I was an undergrad, was from China and didn't speak English very well,
Hmm.
and he couldn't understand our questions, and he couldn't understand what we said or he said, and so most of the class dropped out.
That adds an extra challenge for sure.
Yeah, and
Mm.
good guy. It's just
Yeah.
yeah, and I didn't have as much confidence in those days.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, do you have anything else you want to talk about a bit before we close down? Anything we didn't get
Um,
out that you want to make sure gets out?
well, I appreciate the opportunity for everything you've given here. And yeah, if you're interested in taking a ghost walk tour or do a public investigation here in Port Gamble, go to portgambleparanormal.com and you
Hang
can
on.
get see all the upcoming dates and tickets. I have an investigation tonight. It's sold out, unfortunately, for those wanting to go, but I do them once a month, pretty much through April, and I may do some summer ones this next year again. It was a lot of fun this past summer, so might do some of those. But just check out the website portgambleparanormal.com, and you can see the upcoming dates. It's a lot of fun on the tours and the investigations, and then I'm looking forward to gallery reading with McKenna on December 9th in
Mhm.
Silverdale. Oh, hi. Hi, Rennie. She, good to see you on here. I've done a few readings for Rennie. She's a very nice
Oh,
person.
great. And I
Yeah,
will be I will be hopefully later today. Well, actually, you'll be able to find this already on the Simply Spooky Facebook page, and I'll have it up on my YouTube probably later today as well. And I'll send
nice.
you the links, Pete. So
Okay, nice.
anyway,
Yeah,
not meaning to
thanks.
cut you off, but
Oh
in
no,
answer to your
no, that's
question.
great. Yeah, so looking forward to the gallery reading. Those are always fun, um, and looking forward to coming down to Oregon in March to
Okay.
Seaside to go to the Oregon Ghost Conference. So I got that coming up, and just looking forward to keep plugging away on my show and trying to get good information on the paranormal and all that out to people,
Yeah.
and make them think too.
Exactly.
Make people think, and so yeah, I'm just looking forward to that. Looking forward to the holidays with the family. We just got two little kittens from the local humane society, and they're brothers, and they are just little rascals.
Oh,
Um,
you're gonna have so much fun trying to salvage a Christmas tree this year.
don't say that. I already know. It makes me think of National Lampoon's Christmas,
Okay.
uh, Christmas Vacation. But yeah, so we'll see. So excited to have our cats Pretzel and Klaus. They're two brothers, and they're sleeping during the day and tearing it up at night. So we'll see. We'll
Sounds
see
like
how things
kittens to me.
progress. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, no, thanks a lot. And if people want to look at my show, you can go to Facebook and just type in Paranormal Pete Show, and you'll find me.
yeah.
Um, and I'll have to have you on soon, William.
I'd love it. It's
Yeah.
always a lot of fun. And Pete's tours, I've taken his tours. I've been part of the investigations and such. He really does a good job, everybody. And you need to, if you need to go up there and follow through with these. It's a
Thanks. Yeah, it's a lot of
magical
fun.
place. It's a magical place to begin with, and then you've got Pete knows how to really help bring it all home to you. So
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I hope to see people up here, and certainly anybody watching here that came to the conference this year. Thanks so much for coming to Port Gamble and supporting the conference and the field of paranormal research by coming to the conference. And
hmm
hope to see even more new people next year too. So yeah, so thank
yeah.
you.
And for those of you who weren't at the conference, why weren't you? And you better get your butts there next year.
Indeed, what William said.
The stern elder tyrant.
There you go.
You see, I'm letting all this silver hair go to my head,
Yeah,
so to speak. Um, Great. Well, Pete, it's always a joy just to have a chance to talk to you. I missed you.
you as well.
And thank you so much for this. Have a wonderful time. Okay. Um,
Oh, of course. Go
and
Hawks, Richard. Go Hawks. Oh,
um,
Katie will be there next year. Good,
yeah,
good deal.
that was the one I was trying to c- click on, and then Richards came up. So he jumped. He jumped in. But yeah, I really appreciate it, and thank you all for for watching. Share it, get the word out. Um, Love to see more people, view this after the fact and have a good time. And if you've got questions about psychic work or paranormal or whatever, Pete and I are both on Facebook. You can reach out to us that way um,
Mhm.
on our um, direct messages, I would assume,
Yep.
or through the websites he's given you. You can email him. My email is William at Paranormal Insights. So um, feel free to
Yeah.
reach out.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all so much. Bye bye.